What's good, family? It's your boy Old Soul J, and I'm back with another video. Now look, guys, today I want to talk about internal versus external faith. In the conscious community, in the spiritual community, mostly in the spiritual community, because to be honest with you, there are, they work together, they go together. Like, a lot of conscious people are spiritual and a lot of spiritual people are conscious, but they are not, you can have one without the other. And don't get me wrong, they do go together. But if you really pay attention, it's really two different realms or two different communities, at least in terms of expression or teachings and, just social media overall. And the reason why I say that is because, consciousness is really all about, just raising your consciousness, being self-aware and not being deceived. Right? It's all about truth. Now, when it comes to when you raise your consciousness to a certain level, you realize that being spiritual is the natural way of evolution for the human body, for the human self, for the soul, for you overall. That's the natural way of evolution. That's why it goes hand in hand, because a lot of times people who are spiritual, they're already resonating on a certain level of consciousness, because you have to be on a certain level of consciousness to understand this. I guess what I'm trying to say is that they're not exactly interdependent. And the big thing in the spiritual community is to never pray, or you don't have to pray, things of that nature. Now, this is the thing about that. I don't necessarily agree with that, right? Now, there are people in the conscious community or conscious teachers that do understand you can benefit from prayer. Right? So when I come on here telling you it's better to have internal faith instead of external faith, that doesn't mean that you neglect a higher power. This is the thing about that. Granted, yes, everything's inside you. Granted, that higher power is just another level of your higher selves, right? But when you're operating in a 3D, in a third dimensional construct, when you're operating with a third dimensional consciousness. Now, even if you're operating with a fourth dimensional consciousness, you're not necessarily really operating on a fifth dimensional consciousness if you are still in a 3D plane. Now, some people say they are. That's not necessarily the case. Yes, they may be operating from a higher state of consciousness, but really a fifth dimensional consciousness, you would vibrate so high that you wouldn't even be able to be here on this dimension. Before I get sidetracked, that's the difference between the spiritual community and the conscious community, right? To where you will see spiritual people say, oh, we don't pray outside of ourselves. We don't look to God. God is within you. God is within you. The conscious community will tell you that, but they have a better understanding of it. Like, yes, you can get downloads, right? Yes, we all are getting downloads. But now, whether you are more tapped in or whether you're tapped in or not to receive your downloads, or understanding that your downloads are actually from a divine source, a divine version of yourself, is one thing. Right? That's a completely different thing. But the whole thing about worshiping inside of yourself and not worshiping outside of yourself is more so about aligning yourself, doing for self, and not waiting for something else. Not tapping in or not maximizing your potential. Because here's the thing about a person with a soul. When you have a real soul, and this is why us as humans we will always be valuable. When you have a real soul, evolution is infinite. Consciousness is infinite. So when you worship outside of yourself, prayer doesn't necessarily mean worship. You could pray to your higher self, ask for some guidance, a little bit of help. Asking for help is no problem, right? I just want to make that clear, because I am an advocate of worshiping the internal self. Y'all seen, I don't know if y'all seen it, whoever's watching this has seen it, but y'all seen when I reacted to the video when Billy Carson was talking about how there's a gene inside our bodies that when it's turned on, we look to worship outside of ourselves, and when it's off, we worship something inside of ourselves, which is a gene that was encoded in us. That's a big topic in the conscious community. So yeah, I am an advocate of worshiping the internal self, of evolving your mind, your soul, your consciousness, right? Understanding that God is within you, understanding that on a higher level, you are source, you come from the source. But you have to remember, you have to understand this. We're living a human experience. This is what people tend to forget, right? And I get it. It's like, oh, the law of assumption, right? Oh, if I'm really a God, for me to really tap into my Godhood, I gotta walk and act and feel like a God for real. You're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. You can tap into that. You absolutely should tap into that. But you literally came into the matrix. I've said this so many times, because that's why I don't even really want to get into this, what I'm about to say. But you come into a world where it was literally set up for you not to do that. So you have to understand that it is okay to ask for your higher self for guidance in order, or to ask the Most High, ask Source, ask God, right? As some would say. And when I say God, I'm talking about the Creator of all, for guidance. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't care how conscious you get. As long as you are here in this world. Now here's the thing, you could grow your soul to a level to where you don't have to reincarnate. That's the whole goal. To vibrate high enough so that when you die, you don't have to come back down here. You could go to a higher realm. You could graduate from this realm, from this dimension. But here's the thing, as long as you are in the human experience, you still have to deal with human-like things. You still are a human being. Do not be so spiritually high that you're no earthly good. But do not neglect the inner self. Do not neglect your soul and your essence, and sleeping on your true potential, which is a version of you that already exists, because time is not linear. Everything exists at the same moment, the same present. So the future you is your higher self, is the ascended version of the soul. So worshiping something outside of yourself is meaning when you have the mental idea of worshiping a figure or a character that was made up, instead of recognizing the true God, which is within you. But really and truly, that's a future version of you. So when you ask for guidance, or you are tapping in, or you're getting downloads from a future version of you. You have to, now it's hard to articulate, but you already have to be resonating on a certain consciousness level to understand what I'm saying right now. This is the thing. Let me try to break this down one more time for you, right? Worshiping the internal self, which is what you should be doing, right? By doing so, that does not mean that you look at your 3D physical version of yourself as everything while you're living the physical human experience. That just means that you recognize that everything is within you, and the world is just a projection of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the all. We're living in what they would say, a simulation. But don't let the human construct of what a simulation is make you think too technical with it. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily meaning that you're inside of a computer or a game. No, you just came down into an experience, but you have to understand this. When I say, so we talk about how time is non-linear, right? If time is non-linear, that means everything exists at the same time, the same present, the same moment. Understand, if you continue to evolve your soul and your consciousness, you're going to grow. When you pass from this realm, because we understand that this world is temporary, this lifetime is temporary. When you pass from this realm, where do you go? Who are you? If everything exists at one moment, where is the version of you that's already ascended past this? That is your higher self, and it exists right now. If your higher self has the level of the consciousness to be able to perceive you in this time, in this period, this dimension. Really think about what I'm saying right now. Your higher self is really a future version of you. But you might say, oh Jay, how could it be a future version of me if you just said time is not linear and everything is the present, the future doesn't exist? You're not hearing me. The future is just a perception, right? Because it's just a span of every present moment. But we know for a fact that we are constantly experiencing, and that we are growing, and that your life ceased to exist. Yes, time is just a measurement of events, right? Time is just a measurement of when the sun goes down and the sun comes, or when you see the sun, when it's night, when it's day. But understand, it is to put a measurement of the limitations of how long you exist on this realm. But if everybody talks about going back to source, and God is within all of us, and we're all little pieces of the source, and it trickles down for one big source, then trickles down to these people, then it trickles down to even more people, higher selves, and it comes down to you. And if there's no beginning and no end, what is that telling you guys? That means your consciousness is just drifting off. You're just tapping into different experiences that all already exist. You're tapping. So when they say that we live in a simulation or an illusion, it's because you're perceiving it to be linear on this realm of dimension. But your future you is your higher self that already exists. So let's put it from the perspective that you are your higher self, right? Before coming down to this experience. Let's say you have in front of you, because everything is existing at one time, you have this experience, this human experience possibility that you could tap into, that you can experience. You have this experience, this human experience, or this being's experience that you could go into. And these are all different time periods, right? Then you choose which one you go into. And then when you get there, you have the perception. It's really like a dream for real. You have the perception of time. You have a perception of X amount of years that you experience in that lifetime. But everything is one, right? Here's the thing. People say things. People talk about, oh, we're all one. Source is everything. We're all a piece of the source. People say, oh, time is an illusion. Oh, we live in a simulation. Oh, God is within me. The universe is within me. The subconscious mind is all. But do you really understand it? Do you really understand what that means? So when they talk about worshiping the internal self, that's because the internal is all you are. It's all there is. You're just seeing a projection of the experience you wanted to experience. But here's the thing. You are still bound. You are still bound to the human self. So praying or looking for guidance from a version of yourself, your higher self, that is already you, that is not really worshiping outside of yourself. You can pray and still worship the internal, because you are praying to a version of yourself, a being that is within you already. You're just verbally putting it out into the world. You're verbally setting the intention, which can help program the subconscious mind. I'm not saying you have to. You don't have to. You can grow spiritually. You can grow consciously without doing that. But it can help you. It's not going to set you back at all, consciously, spiritually. It's about the intention. It's about the understanding of what you're actually doing. Are you praying to a being that you perceive to be outside of yourself? Or are you praying to your higher self, or even source, which you understand that is you on the highest form? There's a difference. There's a difference. Do not misunderstand what it truly means to worship the inner self as opposed to worshiping the external. It does not mean that you can't pray to the gods, which would just be higher versions of yourself, because existence is infinite. It doesn't make you less than to ask for guidance, because you're asking for guidance for yourself anyway. You came into a realm where you don't really know how to do that. Yes, you have the power, but you don't really know how. And people like to front like they do. Now, don't get me wrong. There's things that we do know, that do work, that help us tap into our power. But there's levels, and it's always infinity. So yes, you can figure it out on your own, but it does not hurt to ask for guidance, because your higher self is always with you anyway. Like, people talk about the higher self, but then they talk about, why would I pray, blase, blase. I get what you're saying, but like I said in the video, that depends on the intention and your understanding of what your soul really is and where you come from and what prayer actually is. Because believe it or not, when you say things and you use your emotion, you use your energy and motion, it helps that energy move. It helps you tap in that reality. It helps your reality react to said prayer. Now, I'm not saying, oh, go to church or go to a religion and pray with other people and pray to a specific God. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. Y'all know how I feel about religion. If y'all see my presentation videos, y'all know how I feel about religion. And I'm definitely, like I said, I'm definitely an advocate for worshiping the inner self. But we have to have a true understanding. This is the thing, family. You have to continue to raise your consciousness and continue to fill your mind with knowledge and have discernment and be in silence and know how to listen to your higher self in order for you to have clarity, real clarity. Yo, shout out to my boy Drew the Guru, because as I'm saying clarity, what come to my mind is that he just did a short talking about clarity, saying like, oh, these terms like clairaudience and clairvoyance, it just means clarity. That's a fact. I didn't even mean to go that route. But as I'm talking, I'm like, that's a fact. The real ones know. So that's why you have to tap into that part of yourself to understand and understand what's really going on here. You feel what I'm saying? But knowledge is infinite, so you'll never know everything. But that does not mean it does not have value. And that does not mean that it's not power. Yeah, it's infinite, and it's also power. And it's also the key to your growth, your evolution, because really and truly there's nothing more valuable. But that's all I gotta say for today, y'all. Make sure y'all like and subscribe, because we got a lot more content the way. You dig?